Florida has moved into the #1 spot in the United States for Black-owned businesses, and #2 for Hispanic, and #2 for women-owned businesses. What they are saying is, look, African Americans and Hispanics are doing quite well here when it comes to running their own businesses and being able to make money here and being able to live decent lives. How do you address that with this new ban?
First of all, that's propaganda language. Over the last several years, it wasn't because of anything he did in policy.
Reality is propaganda language. So there are more black businesses in Florida than anywhere, second for Hispanics, second for women. But that does not matter, man. You got scary Ron DeSantis, and we're going to scare the hell out of everybody. It's such abject nonsense. The chairman of the NAACP board of directors, his name is Leon Russell. Guess where he lives? Tampa, Florida.
Weeks ago, he was, or maybe this is September, but he was talking about people who are not vaccinated. He said they don't believe in science. They're often misogynistic, often racist. No, they're not.
That was not smart of him at all.
Right. He said, but they take up space. And with that, we have to make a choice in terms of a leader as a country. Do we tolerate these people? It's like, tolerate them. Now you do sound like Hitler.
No, that was...
and recently he talked about them holding unacceptable views.
Wow. I'm surprised to hear that Trudeau said those things.
You didn't see the blackface? I mean,
even the swine flu, like, as we experienced that, you know, during your career.
Yes.
None of this. It just started with COVID.
No, it changed so quick that it left me spinning. And I mean, the way I saw it. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a synopsis, and then I'll get into specifics in terms of what was done with my stories. But that we betrayed the public. We broke their trust. And we had been riding on a reputation of excellence for years. And now we were quickly shutting down one side of the debate. And how were we doing that? We branded the doctors and the experts the CBC chose that we used in our stories. We branded them as competent and trustworthy. And those who questioned and challenged the narrative were portrayed as dangerous and spreading disinformation. And that was regardless of what their specialty was, what their background was, and what their experience was. And I just also want to sort of give you a window into how this affected me personally. As a veteran journalist, I had solid contacts in the community. I had people calling me with stories. So I was seeing and I was hearing and I was absorbing all their stories of suffering and pain, and they were sharing them with me, and these stories weren't being told. Some of those were from the vaccine injured. Some were from people who had lost their job because of their vaccination status, those whose families had been blown apart and they'd been ostracized, university students who were depressed over repeated lockdowns and mandates, and parents who were calling me that were agonizing on whether they should vaccinate their child or not. So all these stories were sitting inside of me, they were left with me, and I felt the crushing burden and the weight of their truth not being given a voice. And it affected my well-being because these people trusted me, and I felt I had failed them and I had let them down.
So can I just interject? So when you're a journalist and people are coming to you with stories that should be reported, you're feeling a responsibility to give voice to those stories, but you're not being allowed to do so for the first time, and that's what was causing the distress internally.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was losing sleep. It was distressing. It was like I had failed these people as a journalist.